Welcome back. Yes, those quotes on violence. Okay, you can see that violence can never be the solution to solve any issue. And today is marked as International Day for the Prevention of Violent Extremism. Based on that, we want to relate mental health to violence. And so we have someone who is a mental health advocate in the person of Okeme, Faith. She be your jaw. I hope I'm right. See, I
That's a
keep my
good try.
Oh, thank you.
Not bad at all.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
why I prefer people calling me Chubi because
Chubi, okay.
pronouncing the whole name can be a
Oh,
bit
okay.
stressful.
Okay,
Chubi or Job.
Chubi Ojo. Okay, thank
Yes.
you so much for joining
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Wow. Okay, today is International Day for the Prevention of Violent Extremism. And based on that, we decided, okay, let's relate it to mental health. What the role mental health plays in violent, extremism. So for you, what are those, should I call them early signs or warnings, that you will notice from somebody or in someone and you feel, oh, this person is going that
Has
way.
tendencies.
And how can parents, educators, professional mental health advocates like you, or mental health therapists, how do you think they can come in at the
Okay.
early stage?
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
It's very important that we emphasize the need to, pay attention to mental health. As a society, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Before now, we have paid less attention to mental health. But I would say, from a stand of a professional, I could say for free that the way we think, the way we react, the way we relate to other people spans from how healthy we are mentally, how stable we are mentally. Now, uh, let's talk about extremism first. Extremism refers to an ideology that holds extreme thoughts on maybe politics,
Ideas and all that.
social
Okay.
life, economy, religion. Okay, now when we have established the fact that it's an extreme view, thought, ideology relating to mental health. For instance, if you have people young people who have a traumatizing upbringing, traumatic, chaotic background. They are already vulnerable to radicalization. What this means is mentally, they're already at the brink of accepting what is sold to them because of the state they are mentally. A child who has had traumatic upbringing, childhood, or let me call it a dysfunctional home. Products of dysfunctional home are dysfunctional kids, and dysfunctional kids brings chaos to the society
Okay.
because mentally they are not stable. And so when a certain radicalism ideology is sold to them, it is not new because they are coming from somewhere that has laid that foundation.
Foundation, yes, and wrong foundation.
Very wrong foundation. And so people like that have tendencies of agitation, they get angry. You see traces of this. I'm talking about the signs now. You see people who are naturally angry, they get agitated. Anxiety is another, signal or sign. Um, you see people who are bullies. It starts from a very early stage. The child might have seen people around bullying other people, and then it becomes a norm to that child to have this over exaggerated sense of personality. That ideology has been sold to that child unknowingly.
Okay.
Now, one thing with the impact the environment has on people mentally is you don't need a blackboard and a chalk to sit a child down to say bullying is right. If you see somebody in your age bracket, you should feel like you are better than that person. The way we reacted, the way we act around them, the way we relate to other people when they are there, gives them that sense of this is a norm
Okay. So it's like we are the example
that they model after.
especially the parents, educators,
Exactly.
and so on.
Especially, I would lay more emphasis on the family. The family makes up the society. It is the smallest unit, but without the family, there is no society. And so the first point of education, the first point of tutelage for every human being is the family. And so if the family gets it wrong, then we are going to always have dysfunctional children that are open to accepting extremism ideologies because they already have a dysfunctional background.
Okay. Okay. Let's look at the place of social media. Social media, because especially our youth, what they watch, there's no regulation. Nobody says don't do this, don't do that, because at times the parents are not there, so they can just watch whatever and assimilate whatever. So let's look at the place of social media.
Yes. Okay. So social media in this time and age plays a very critical role in how the society is being molded, in how the ideology, the thinking of a lot of people is being molded. Because if you look at it now, even children within the age range of 7, 8 have access to the internet because parents think that giving their children pads, tabs, phones, it's them doing their children a favor. But that's the greatest disservice that they can do to themselves and their family. Um, it's okay to want to give your children some gadgets, but you're giving them gadgets, you're giving them access to the internet, but you are not present as a person
Yes, to monitor
to
what they're watching.
monitor, to censor what they are seeing. Now, there is this thing with ideologies like extremism. It is always a catch them young thing. Yes, it is a catch them young thing where it starts by selling some ideologies that sounds like it is not really bad. Because one thing about extremism, the ideology is it's a binary thinking ideology. It is the super villain versus the superheroes, the good versus bad, the us versus them. And so you see people selling ideologies like misogyny on the internet, and then young boys sees it and thinks, yeah, women should not be that rated after all. And then they begin to buy into these
Into the idea,
ideologies.
yes.
And then we are, as a people, in a place where we do not have policies to checkmate what goes on in our space. Our algorithm puts to us what we are interested in. And so if you get to see such content before and you paid attention, you watched it, it spanned 30 seconds, it spanned 45 seconds. When there are posts that related to hate statements, hate speeches, extremism ideologies, the algorithm will bring it back to that same person. And then you continue watching, and then the windows of our heart is our ears. And then with time, you begin to feel like it's not really bad. And then for someone who is coming from a traumatic, chaotic upbringing, childhood, it's so easy. That person buys into it already.
Honestly.
So I think the social media should play a very critical role in dissemination of the right information. So we need to do more as a people.
Okay.
We need to do more as an institution. If we can have policies to checkmate what
That's
the
way I wanted
algorithm
to.
of
Yes.
social media showcases to
Yes.
our young people, instead of watching videos or content related to extremism ideologies or other harmful, speeches,
Yeah,
content
hate
that would
speeches, yeah.
affect the thinking and ideology of other young people. We should push for policies that would showcase content in on STEM education, how they could sit at the comfort of their homes and come up with some innovative ideas, craft something,
Just to channel
invest in their
energy,
talents,
yeah.
stuffs like that. They could work also as distractions away from people investing their time in watching content that are derogatory.
Okay, in all this, how can mental health professionals come in? Let's look at foundation, mental health advocates like you, mental health professionals. How do you think they can come in, especially at that early stage in our schools, or should I say sensitization or whatever? So how do you think they can come in?
Okay. I started by saying that as a people, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
It's just been in recent times, say last 2 years, that we have decided to wake up to the reality of mental health.
Okay.
as a people. Until now, it's not still an ideology that a lot of people buy into. You take, for instance, a typical Nigerian going through grief, for
Mm.
instance. You tell the person, I think this grief is getting you down. You need therapy. They ask you, therapy, I don't
That
understand.
one
What do I
soft.
need? What do I need therapy
Therapy for.
for? So how many
Home
people
is
recognizes the fact that mental health plays an important role, a crucial role in our day-to-day living? How many mental health advocates do we have in the country? How many foundations do we have that are focused on mental health?
okay. Okay, we're going to go on a break.
Okay.
When we return, you talk to us about how mental health can contribute or play a part in violent extremism. So let's take this break. I'm sure you've been listening, and she has a lot to say to us as we mark the International Day for the Prevention of Violent Extremism. It is very, very important. Our mental health is very important, and that's what she's trying to say to us. So please don't go anywhere. When we come back, she still has more to dish out to us. Yes, welcome back. We've been discussing the role of mental health in violent extremism, and we still have the mental health advocate in the house. All right. Before we went on a break, I said you were going to talk to us about the role of mental health in all this. Do you think why people go to the extreme, why people go into violence and all that? Do you think they have mental health issues also contribute to that?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay, so permit me to pick up from the last thing I was saying
please go
because
ahead.
they are together. Okay, so if we do not believe in a thing, how
Mm.
then can it thrive?
Mm.
If we do not believe that mental health is something to be prioritized, how then can we push the message of mental health, the importance, the
Important, so
need
yeah.
for mental stability?
Mm.
I will pick a very common one. There is a mental health disorder called the narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
Now, the narcissistic personality disorder is a sense of over exaggerated personality.
Oh, over
Now,
exaggerated.
yes,
Okay.
they are often called narcissists. Now, these people, when we see them, I'm very sure if I begin to break down the characteristics of a narcissist, you will discover that in every 10 people you have met, you have seen two, three people with traces that are characteristics of the narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
But because as a people we haven't gotten there, we haven't prioritized mental health,
Mm.
we do not see it as a thing.
Mm.
You see, you have, let's use spouse for instance. You have a spouse that wants to be worshipped. His words are the final
Final.
law. You cannot object, you have nothing to suggest, right? Those are traces. And if that person goes for for further check and diagnosis, the person will discover that he has narcissistic personality disorder.
Mm.
But then we do not rate mental health. So we just conclude that that's how he is. It's nothing
Mm.
serious. But
So we
now,
say it's stress.
it's not stress. Now, we now put an environment, set an undertone for
Mm.
that person to continue to thrive in that
Mm.
act. And then it begins to graduate. All of these things are in stages. It passes the
Yeah.
first stage,
Yeah.
it goes to the second stage, it moves to the third stage. The same thing with bipolar disorder, personality disorder, and then the list is long,
Mm.
schizophrenia, and the rest.
Mm.
So, because we don't pay attention to it,
Attention,
how do
yeah.
we now know that this is what we have identified the problem is?
Wow.
If you do not know the problem, you cannot
Never,
know
yes, how
how
to
to go
solve it.
about solving it.
Yeah.
Okay, so mental health plays a very crucial role because you see somebody who feels like I'm supposed to be worshipped. I have an exaggerated sense of personality. And so if you are working for that kind of a person, he's your boss, then I'm sorry, he would trample on you. He will make you feel like you are not enough,
Nothing,
and
yeah.
then you keep doing the work.
Dehumanize you.
And then being in a relationship with that kind of a person affects your own mental health because you are constantly feeling like you are not enough. You are
Wow.
constantly feeling like you are not giving your best.
Mm.
And then gradually you begin to lose your own sense of personality. You begin to lose your own sense of, your sense of worth.
Mm.
You begin to lose your identity.
Who you are.
Yes, because you are constantly reminded that you are not enough, you are not doing your best, you're not getting it right.
Wow. Now,
Just to massage the ego of the person who is a narcissist.
wow.
Yes.
Now let's look at the role of the government in all this. Not only the government, the community, the family, non-governmental organizations. How can we? Because, like you said, there are signs, early signs in all this. So, what do you think can be done to do this?
I think a lot can be done.
Hmm.
If you look at extremism as an ideology, there is always an undertone in terms of environment, atmosphere to which it thrives. Now, when there is an atmosphere where, let's say, for instance, misinformed or underinformed communities, where they don't have access to the right information, and then a set of people or a group of people try to sell the extremism ideology to young
Again,
people to tell them, oh, you know what? We're not getting what is due us.
yes.
I think the right way to do it is to be
Somebody
violent.
somewhere, yes.
Yes, I think it's the right thing to go about it is violence. Let's
Hmm.
get their attention. Let's create havoc. Let's get our own share of it
The
for
national
ourselves, the
cake,
national cake,
like they
to put
say.
it that way. So underinformed communities are more on the brink of receiving the extremism ideology. So now the government has a role to play. As a family, we have roles to play. The educational sector has a role to play.
The community.
The community has a role to
Mhm.
play. Let's start with the government. If the government would, um, you know, make policies for the regulation of what we see on the internet, what the algorithm puts to us as a country, some other developed countries have done that, like China.
Hmm.
So if we have a policy that checkmates what we see, there is no atmosphere for hate speeches, because what I would say here, because it's out there, would reach more people than what I say in the comfort of my room. So the internet, the information dissemination organizations, they all have a role to play. So
Okay.
if we have a policy that is checkmating the information that goes out to the public,
Okay.
one of the problems will be solved.
Oh.
Then two, we need to pay more attention. There need to be emphasis on mental health. Can the government make a policy where every school, both private and public schools, have at least counselors in the school,
Public health, mental health.
mental health practitioners,
Yeah,
therapists
that would
in
be
the
very nice.
school,
Yeah.
where their duty, the sole aim of them being there is to checkmate the activities of the students, to be able to decode when there is a change, there is, some sort of change in attitude, in behavior, mannerism, the way they relate, and then call them close to
That
give them
early
the right,
sign.
yes, to give them the coaching that they need to
Okay.
help them out of it so they don't stay there too long, and then the wrong help or the wrong hand is extended and then it pulls them into violence, extremism ideologies.
Thank you so much. Now, as we mark the International Day for um, Prevention of Violent Extremism, as a mental health advocate, what will be your word to people watching you, especially someone battling with mental health issues?
Okay. First, I would like to lay emphasis on family. We can do more as a people if we pay attention to our family. Parents, mothers, fathers, pay attention. One of the most pertinent or yeah signs of mental health disorder is isolation.
Okay.
If you have a child who used to be vibrant and all of a sudden becomes withdrawn, is trying to become, secluded, the person doesn't want to relate with people, becoming socially distant, always isolated. These are environments that makes for other types of mental health to thrive, other mental health challenges to
Challenges.
thrive,
Okay.
right? So pay attention to the children you are raising, because dysfunctional family produces dysfunctional children that causes havoc to the society.
I love that.
Yes. And then secondly, I would say that as a people we can do more. We need to prioritize our mental health. If you are going through something, don't think that you are too old to get someone to confide in, get a counselor, get a therapist. If at some point you feel like you need help, don't feel you are too big or you are in a particular status in quotes that does not permit you to get the help that you need. Talk to someone, get help so that it doesn't degenerate into something terrible. And then you would want to ask yourself how you got
How
there, how
you
you became
got
a terrible
there.
person. But
Wow.
then you took you steps to get to that point.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. When the issue of mental health, I don't think no matter what we say here, it can never be overemphasized.
True.
We need to, just like you said, the government, the community, parents, educators, everybody, all hands must be on deck, especially when that early sign is there. Thank you so much. We've been speaking with them. A mental health advocate, you've heard from her. She has just told us what we need to do and how we need to go about it as we mark International Day for the Prevention of Violent Extremism. Thank you so much, for coming. Now, I want to say to all of us, you know, our youths are intelligent. Like I said, they always wear their thinking cap. I believe that foundation matters. The government, let me even the parents, okay, parents, government, the communities where they are. There are so many things we can do to help our youth to channel their energies to positive use. You have heard it, so that we'll be able to curb violence in our environment, in our communities, and in our society at large. It's been good morning, Abuja. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for more. Thank you.